For today's subreddit, I am going to be reading posts from Off My Chest. And joining me, I have my toast plushie. My wife really hurt me. I have always been the stoic, unemotional type on the surface, but I am actually very sensitive. My wife and I have been married for 32 years and get along great. However, because I don't often show emotion, she doesn't realize when she hurts my feelings. Last week, a teacher at my high school, alma mater, contacted me and asked me to be the keynote speaker for this year's National Honor Society induction ceremony. I have been out of high school for over 40 years, and I felt truly honored to be asked. When I told my wife, her response was, "Why would they ask you?" That really hurt. It's as if she was saying that I am not worthy to be the speaker. For the record, I have a successful career and was selected for my high school Hall of Fame 12 years ago. I am considered one of the school's most distinguished alumni. My life is very peaceful, and I don't think my bruised ego is worth getting into a fight about, so I won't bring it up to her. I just needed to get it off my chest. Thanks for reading. Okay, so let's break this down. He's been married for 32 years, and he says he's a chill guy, doesn't show a lot of emotion. He's been out of high school for over 40 years, so over 40 years. Usually you graduate high school at the age of 18, and he said over 40 years. So it is safe to say that this guy is at least 60 years old, because he's been married for 32 years, and I'm assuming he didn't get married right after high school. So this guy is hurt because his wife said, "Why would they ask you?" when he was asked to be a speaker for the National Honor Society ceremony. And he also mentions that he was selected for the High School Hall of Fame. I'm not trying to laugh at that, but I just think that's kind of funny. Like, who cares? I did not like high school, so that's why I'm kind of biased when I say that. So this guy seems pretty upset by this because he took the time to post this on Reddit. He mentions that he's a chill guy, and him and his wife don't get into arguments much, but he doesn't want to get into a fight about it with his wife. He says he's not going to bring this up to her, which is weird. You've been married for over 30 years. My guess is you are 60 years old. If something is bothering you, you just got to outright say it. I mean, it's always important to communicate how you're feeling with a partner, because if you don't say anything, she's not going to know that you're upset. And, what if this topic comes up again, or what if she says something to you in the future that makes you upset? Are you going to say anything then? And then what happens if this keeps going on? If you're not going to say anything, you're just going to bottle it all up, and then eventually you're going to let it all out, and it's going to be ugly. So, in my opinion, I think this guy should be more upfront with his wife and tell him that what she said to him hurt his feelings. That's all. And you don't have to put it in a way where it feels very accusatory, but he should be open about how he feels. I cried in front of my therapist today, and now I am extremely embarrassed. I, 17F, have recently started going to therapy behind the backs of my parents. Where I am from, this technically is not an illegal thing to do, and I talked to my therapist about it, and it seems like not telling them for now would be the best option, as they will potentially stop me from going, and I currently really need the help. This has been on my mind all day. I have been beating around the bush if I should talk about it to someone or not, but I figured that I needed to let it off my chest. I had unrestricted internet access from a very young age. My parents didn't really bother checking my iPad or really paying attention to what I was doing. So that practically gave me free access to everything, everywhere. When I was around 11 years old, I started being groomed by multiple men over the internet in the span of 4 years. They made me feel special as if I was actually capable of loving them. And because I loved them so much, I sent some things that I now regret extremely. Thinking about it makes me want to puke. I sometimes wonder if they still have those pictures, which just makes me even more sick. I have never talked about it to anyone before, as I was deathly afraid of being judged by the people I loved, most notably my parents. So for 6 years, I have been keeping it a secret until it came up in my therapy session today. I couldn't believe that I actually brought it up to him because I had kept it a secret for so long. But I figured that I had matured enough that talking about it to another person face to face would not bother me so much. Midway through describing what happened, I began tearing up and reached for a tissue. Before I knew it, I was actually practically bawling my eyes out. My therapist was very helpful and sympathetic. He even told me that he wished my parents were paying more attention to my online activity, that this would not have happened to me, which just made me cry even more. I'm extremely embarrassed as this was only my second session with him, and I am too scared to tell my friends that do not know about me starting therapy about me crying, as I am worried that they'll judge me for it. So I felt like getting it off my chest somewhere they wouldn't see would be the best option for me. Okay, I forgot to do this for the first story, but when I'm doing my commentary, I'll make the screen larger. The first thing I'm curious about is, why does she need to go behind the back of her parents? Why does she not want to tell the parents that she wants to see a therapist? I think right off the bat, that is a huge concern. Is she afraid to tell her parents that there's an issue that she's dealing with? I'm trying to think from a perspective of a teenager, because obviously she mentions the reason why she's going is because of this like grooming situation. Could it be because of the subject? She is afraid to tell her parents because her parents might ask her like, oh, why do you want to see a therapist? And then she might have to explain, the reason. So maybe it's that. Maybe she just doesn't want to tell them the reason. But that first part is definitely kind of scary, especially since she's only 17. And the whole thing about this internet and talking to older guys for multiple years. And she was doing this when she was 11 years old. And she, the pictures, I mean, I'm not saying this is like what she was doing is messed. I mean, obviously she shouldn't have been doing that, but obviously the guys in this situation that are talking to her, like they're the sick people. And I'm about to go a little bit off topic here, but if there's anybody that deserves like the death sentence or some sort of torturing, it's pedophiles. Those are the worst kind of people, like pedophiles, child rapists. Those are the worst kind of people on the planet. And I like to watch a lot of, you see all these like predator catch videos. Back then it was the Chris Hansen videos. I used to love watching those. I mean, I still do. And the reason why I watch these is because whenever I feel like I'm not doing much with my life, whenever I feel like a failure, I just watch these predator videos and I remind myself, well, at least I'm not a pedophile. Okay, I'm going a bit off topic, but it does suck that, she was in this situation and, the guys that were grooming her, that's absolutely terrible. And I do think that she is making a good decision to talk about it with a therapist. I see a therapist myself, and I know it's hard, at least in my experience, just admitting that you need help and you want to talk to a therapist. Like that first step is not easy. So hats off to her for taking that first step and admitting that she needs help and wants to talk to someone. I think that is great. But going back to the title, like feeling embarrassed about crying, it's totally fine to do that. And it's even more fine to do that with your therapist. That's literally their job. They are there to listen to your problems. She also mentioned that she's too scared to tell her friends about starting the therapy and crying. You don't have to tell them. Yeah, I get it. They're your friends and, you guys want to open up with each other, but you don't have to share this information with them. You can keep it private between you and your therapist. So yeah, I would say keep going to your therapist, keep talking about what's going on. And, I think the talking to your parents, I understand for this topic, depending on your culture, where you come from, your parents might blame you for the situation, which is totally wrong, obviously, but I can understand if you don't want to bring it up with them. I totally get that, but definitely continue to, keep seeing your therapist and don't feel bad about crying. It's completely fine. I saw my ex's mom at the grocery store and she hugged me like her own child. My ex and I broke up 3 years ago. It was mutual, no drama, just different paths. His mom and I were really close though. She used to call me her bonus daughter. Yesterday, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked shocked for a second, then just walked over and hugged me. Like really hugged me. The kind that breaks through your walls before you can stop it. She said, "You were good for him and you were good for me too." I almost cried right there in the produce aisle. We talked for 10 minutes, just catching up on life. She said she still prays for me every night. I didn't realize how much I missed being loved by someone who didn't owe it to me. Well, that's a really wholesome moment. It's nice to see that the mom took time to give her a nice hug and caught up with her, even though it's been 3 years. So it's been a while. It's nice to see that for her and the ex, it was a pretty mutual breakup. So nothing crazy happened, but breakups are still tough. I actually had a pretty similar situation, not from her perspective, but my ex and I broke up earlier this year, and then maybe like a month or two after us breaking up, my ex saw my mom. They didn't plan it, but they just like ran into each other, and I guess they talked for a little bit. All right, so there it is. Off my chest. Some sad, but also some wholesome moments there. If you have a preference on what subreddit I can react to / comment on next, feel free to let me know.